Our next storyteller is Bruce Boeck. Bruce is a retired psychologist who lives in Normal, which sounds like an oxymoron. He's also a playwright who has been practicing his craft for more than 10 years, and he has had his work performed across the US and Canada. He lives with his wife of 40 years and their 3 crazy cats. Bruce let us know that he has never, not once, feared chocolate. Bruce Boeck.
I never met a chocolate I didn't like. So the first thing you need to know is this. I have always had a little bit of a fear of heights, okay? Now, fortunately, it's never been a really big problem because I've always lived in flatland. The second thing you need to know is that before the pandemic, WGLT, shameless plug, would periodically sponsor trips to distant lands. And in 2016, that distant land was Costa Rica. So my wife and I went to the meeting that they have to talk about the trip. We saw all the lovely videos, all the lovely pictures. We heard from people who'd been there. We were like, this is a great idea, let's do this. So we took one of the brochures back home with us. And we got home, and I was looking through the brochure, and there were all these gorgeous pictures. And there were also elements of extra activities that you could do on your trip. And one of those activities was ziplining in the cloud forest. Now, my wife was like, she's not here tonight, by the way. So you only hear my side of this. My wife was like, this sounds great, let's do this. And I looked at it, and I looked at the description, and I noticed that the picture was a picture of what appeared to be a 12-year-old girl in full regalia for ziplining, looking anxious and excited and enthusiastic. And I turned to my wife and I said, I don't know. This looks way out of my comfort zone. And she and I had a discussion about it. Those of you who've been married know what that means. And finally she said, okay, and then she left the room. Now, what I didn't tell you previously was that when GLT would go on these trips, they always had a genuine radio personality go with as kind of the host for it. And on this particular trip, Mike McCurdy, who was a friend of ours, was the host. So my wife goes off, and in about 15 minutes, the phone rings. And I pick it up, and it's Mike McCurdy. And he says, I hear you're going with us to Costa Rica. And I said, yes, we're really excited about it. He says, and you're going to do the ziplining thing, right? And I said, who you been talking to? Well, finally I said, all right, I will do this, thinking, get him off my back for now. And when I get there, I can make my own decision. So the time comes, we fly to Costa Rica, and it's gorgeous. I absolutely recommend it for everybody. And about 3 days in, is the day that we went to Monteverde, which is the giant mountain that they do all this stuff on. So we go there, and at the base of the mountain, we get the equipment. Now, there's 3 things that you need in order to do ziplining. One, a helmet, like that's going to do you a lot of good, but you fall 100 feet, it's not a good thing. Anyway, but it's for appearance more than anything. The second thing is this harness that you wear. And the harness has on it a number of rings which are then clipped onto the zip line. So they're what actually attach you to the zip line so you don't fall and use your helmet. The third thing that you have is a glove. Now, it's not just any glove. The glove has a really thick piece of leather on it. And I turned to them and I said, what's with this piece of leather? And they said, that's your brake. And I said, excuse me? How is this piece of leather going to break me? And they said, well, when you go, you're holding on to the harness with one hand, because that connects you to the line, and then you hold your other hand up like this, assuming you're right-handed, and when you want to slow down, you push down on it with the piece of leather. I said, and this actually works? They said, it has so far. So we start going up the mountain, all right? And as we're going up the mountain, I noticed this interesting phenomena. Every now and then, I would hear this weird noise, and it sounded something like this. Bzzz. And I couldn't figure out what it is. And finally, when it did it, I looked up, and there was a cable up there, and there was a person zipping along. And I couldn't help but notice how far up they were, and also that the trees in the cloud forest, although beautiful, are really tall. So we get up finally to the top, and there's a platform with stairs, and Mike McCurdy, the guy that he is, goes up and he gets clipped in and he puts his hand up on the wire, and off he goes. All right, my wife was next. So she goes up there, she gets clipped in, she puts her hand up on the zip line, and off she goes. And I'm at the base of the stairs, and I put my foot on the first stair, and I make my mistake. I look down. And I realize I'm seeing the tops of those really tall trees that we went over on the way up. And I could not get my other leg to come up on the steps, because the part of me was going, I can't do this. I mean, and all these images go through your mind about, oh gosh, it's going to be embarrassing, I'm going to be ashamed, my wife's going to disown me, la 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 la. Who's going to take care of the cats? And finally, I'm like, okay, the only way out is to turn around and go back down the path, okay? So, and oh, by the way, yes, my palms were quite sweaty by that time. And it wasn't just that it was 85 degrees. So I turned to go down the stairs, and the next person in line to me is a 12-year-old girl. Leaning in, she's so excited and so enthusiastic, and I have what I call a Tevye moment. Those of you who are familiar with Fiddler on the Roof know that very often Tevye turns and talks to God and is like, what is it you're doing? And I just was like, okay, I get the message, I'm supposed to do this. So I go up to the top, and they clip me in, and I take my hand and I put it on the cable, and I step off into the abyss. Now, it's not just one line. There's 13 stations, and I was like, 13? And each one of them is a little bit longer, and a little bit longer, and a little bit longer, and the very last line, the very last zip line, is 1 kilometer long. It's so long that you can't see where it ends. And it's like, But I went through it all, and the amazing thing is, I had a wonderful time doing it. And I had such a good time that the next day we moved somewhere else in Costa Rica, and it was more of a flat area. And they had zip lining, and I said, sure, I'll do that again. Except it was a little different, because the area was flatter. In order to get any altitude, because gravity is a big part of this, you have to climb up these rope ladders, which are, they've been around a while. And oh, by the way, did I mention it was raining? So the rope ladders are slippery. Your glove, your brakes are slippery. You know how it is when you're out and driving and it's raining and, you know, your brakes just don't do what they're supposed to. Well, I'm doing this and going, But I survived it. So the moral of the story is, don't let your fears keep you from doing what you want to do, because it might just be the coolest thing ever. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bruce.